Hi everybody, this is Tracy Lynn. How are you all doing? Okay, so I'm making this video because I'm on this TTC journey trying to conceive. I am now currently pregnant. I got pregnant on my second cycle trying to conceive. But this video is for those women that you're really in tune with your body, and most likely, you know when you're ovulating. See, I'm someone who is very in tune with my body. I know when I ovulate. I can feel every little thing. And so when you're very in tune with your body and you're trying to conceive, you know, sometimes we want to experience symptoms. So yes, there are certain times that it can be all in our head. Absolutely. But then there's times that you might know that you have conceived, or you might know that the egg has been fertilized. So, you know, this video is really, it's my experience, and I just wanted to share it with you guys because there's not too many videos online about this. And according to doctors and science, you know, some people might say that this is impossible and it can't happen, but I do disagree with that. My first cycle trying to conceive, I was about 99% sure that I was pregnant. The symptoms hit me, and they hit me hard, like a ton of bricks hitting me. And so what I think happened is, I think that my egg was fertilized, and I think that my body was preparing for this pregnancy and for this egg to implant. And that's where I think things went wrong. I recorded all of my symptoms here, and I experienced very strong symptoms for about 2.5 weeks. So that's a long time. That's over 14 days of symptoms. And I think that the egg, I think I was having an implantation problem, and it wasn't, the fertilized egg wasn't able to implant in my uterine lining. So that's what I think happened. And so that's why I wanted to explain my experience, because there could be women out there that are wondering, you know, what happened. So I'm going to tell you my experience. I have everything listed here on my phone, all of my symptoms from the day after conception. And yes, I know when that was. I know exactly when I ovulated. And so it didn't work out that month. And so I'm going to tell you what I did differently this time around. And I'm currently pregnant, and this is my, I got pregnant my second cycle trying to conceive. So I'm going to tell you what I did differently to get that baby to stick. Okay, so day after conception, with this is with my first cycle. Day after conception, I had a very heavy feeling in my lower abdomen. I had cramping, and I wrote here in parentheses here, I wrote, I knew I was pregnant. Sometimes you just know. I was extremely bloated. That night I have very vivid dreams. Now I understand some of that cramping and that, you know, those sensations that I was experiencing in my stomach or my lower stomach area, that could be still ovulation pains. 2 DPO. Here I have, I was super bloated, tired. I had a ton of heartburn. I was experiencing lots of like spasm sensations around my ovaries. I had an extreme shortness of breath. 4 DPO, I didn't record 3 DPO, but I have 4 DPO here. I was extremely dizzy, and I remember this. Like if I was sitting down reading or sitting down watching TV, whatever it was, and I stood up to just go do something to leave the room, I was very dizzy. It was a lot of dizziness. It was quite strange. It was a little worrying, but I did Google it, and I guess that is an early pregnancy symptom. So I was experiencing dizziness. My nose was running. I had severe congestion. I was sneezing a lot. My allergies were just out of control. And I also wrote here fogginess. I was a little out of it. I was a little foggy, like I was not thinking normally. I was definitely experiencing some tiredness. And then I also wrote here that later on that night I had more heartburn, cramping, and my stomach was super sore. I was also constipated. I apologize, TMI. I was constipated. I was experiencing a lot of ovary twinges, more on the left side, but I wrote still on both sides, but more on the left side. So in the left ovary area, I was experiencing more twinges and like spasms. And then I wrote 6 through 10 DPO here. I just wrote extreme tiredness, pressure in my lower stomach, and also lower back pain. 10 DPO, pain in my breast, really only in the nipple though. One of my nipples were more sensitive than the other nipple. It was quite weird. I also had a temperature of 98.6 that day, and I was very gassy. 11 DPO, I had slight to moderate gas cramps all day. I wrote here flakiness, forgetfulness. At night, I had slight pain in my left ovary. 12 DPO, I took a pregnancy test. I had a big fat negative at 12 DPO. So now it's starting to get a little bit worried because I experienced all of these symptoms and I wasn't pregnant. So it's getting a little worried because I know some women can get their positive pregnancy test at like 8, 9, 10 DPO, which is unbelievably early. So by the time I was at 12 DPO and I still didn't have a positive, it was a little worrying. I did take an ovulation test that day just for the heck of it. And it says here that I had a very strong LH surge on an ovulation test. So that's something else that made me think I was pregnant, because why would I have, why would I have LH showing up on an ovulation test if I had already ovulated and I was getting closer to my period at this time, so I knew I wasn't ovulating. So why would I have a positive ovulation test? So that was interesting. So I still thought I was pregnant, and maybe just the HCG wasn't strong enough in my body just yet, and that's why it wasn't showing up on the pregnancy test. So I thought that I might have been pregnant here because I had the positive ovulation test. And at 13 DPO, I still had a temperature of 98.6, gassy pain in my left ovary for a few hours in the afternoon, still big fat negative. My stomach was sore to the touch. I had a very hot belly at 13 DPO and I was bloated. 14 DPO, big fat negative. I had the hiccups all day. I had a headache all day and I was cramping. 16 DPO, I had period-like cramps. Took another ovulation test. That came up positive. Took a pregnancy test. That came up negative. 17 through 19 DPO, yes, I recorded it here. I wrote more intense period-like cramps, especially when laying on my back. And I felt them deep in the center of my stomach. But still, big fat negative. Shortly after this, but it wasn't till a few days later, which I don't cramp before I get my period at all. I never have. Some women, I guess they cramp right before they get their period and it's a warning that their period is coming. I never cramped. I cramp right as I'm getting my period. Sometimes, I've already had my period for a couple of hours, then the cramping will come. I was never someone who cramped a ton. I did when I was younger, when I was a teenager, but not anymore. So it wasn't until like my cycles run a little bit longer, so it wasn't until like I was like 23 DPO that my period actually started. So I was experiencing all of those cramps and yet the baby didn't implant. So I researched it, and I guess, I guess a woman's body is so particular, and we should be. Our bodies know, if there's something wrong with the egg, if there's something wrong, they can reject, I guess, that egg from implanting. So I'm not sure what happened, but obviously it didn't implant. And so what I did for my next cycle is I did my research, and I went out and I bought a whole fresh pineapple, because pineapple contains, I believe it's called bromelain. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but bromelain is it's a nutrient. It's something that's very good for you, and it helps with implantation. So if you're a woman who has implantation problems, bromelain supports implantation. I believe it's an enzyme, and it's found in pineapple core. And so they say to eat pineapple core. You can eat the pineapple meat as well for 1 to 5 days past ovulation. Now, the pineapple, if you eat it before ovulation, it can cause your CM, your cervical mucus, to become inhospitable to the traveling sperm. It's too, there's too much acid in it. So you don't want to eat the pineapple before ovulation. You want to make sure that you know that you ovulated. If you're trying the pineapple trick out, you want to make sure that you've ovulated. So, and they say to eat the pineapple core for 5 days, from 1 DPO to 5 DPO. And you can eat, the entire pineapple and have a snack, because pineapple is very nutritious. You can do that, or you can just eat the pineapple core. For me, what I did is I ate the meat with the pineapple core. I ate 1 to 2 pineapple slices, about maybe a ½ inch thick, every day, and I actually made smoothies. So I know some women don't want to eat anything cold when they're trying to conceive, but what I did is, I'm a big tea drinker, and I drank decaf tea, and I also drank my smoothies. So I mixed the pineapple with raspberries and pomegranate juice and strawberries and blueberries and just lots of different fruit. And so I made smoothies, just because the pineapple core is so hard and it's not the easiest to chew. So I made smoothies. I highly suggest making smoothies. So that's what I did, is I used the pineapple core, but because I knew that I had an implantation problem, so this is, what I did differently, is some women will eat the pineapple core from 1 to 5 days. I ate the pineapple core from 1 to 10 days, yes. And from around 7 DPO, for the cycle that I actually conceived, is when I felt implantation taking place, but I still had a little bit of pineapple every day to encourage that implantation. So I ate pineapple from 1 to 10 DPO, and I did do my research, and I guess for the bromelain, for the pineapple core, for that ingredient to lead to uterine contractions, because if you eat enough of it, it can cause uterine contractions. But the amount of it that you would have to eat is, you would have to eat like several whole pineapples all at once to consume enough of that enzyme for it to make your uterus contract. So I already knew that I wasn't eating that much, and it wasn't going to cause harm. But that's what I did. I ate it from 1 to 10 DPO because I knew I had an implantation problem the last time. So I wanted to make sure that that little one stuck. So I ate the pineapple. I also drank raspberry tea, raspberry leaf tea. They say is very good for you. I ate raspberries. I put them in my smoothies. I drank a ton of pomegranate juice. You can eat pomegranates. Pomegranates are like the fertility fruit. They're very good for you. They're very good when you're trying to conceive. I ate a ton of seeds and nuts, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, almonds, cashews, dried cherries, raisins, a ton of seeds, a ton of nuts. Those are fertility foods. They are great for helping you trying to conceive. and they're very healthy. They're very healthy. Also, they say to eat some eggs. Eggs are a fertility food as well, which I try not to eat a ton of eggs because I am a vegetarian, but I did eat several omelets that week and a half during the 2-week wait. So I ate eggs, yeah, and just a ton of nuts. I drank my POM juice, and I ate the pineapple core. I made smoothies for 10 days from 1 to 10 DPO, and on 11 DPO, I got my big fat pregnancy test. And in another video, I made another video, so please check out my channel. If I can, I'll list it below, but I made another video explaining all of my DPOs from 1 DPO, and I think I recorded all the way up to like 22 DPO because I just wanted to share my symptoms with you guys. I got my big fat positive, my second cycle trying to conceive, and I got my positive on 11 DPO. And that was with the first response. It's pink line test, the Sure Predict one-step pregnancy test, those are 10 MIU, and also the Clinical Guard pregnancy test. Those two that I just listed, the Sure Predicts and the Clinical Guard, they're both like internet cheapy test, but I compared a lot of different brands, a lot of different tests, and I find those two tests, along with the first response test, to be the most sensitive. They're incredibly sensitive, and I really do like them. So if you're someone who's trying to detect your pregnancy early on, because they're 10 MIU test, the Sure Predicts are wonderful. And the Clinical Guard ones, they're not 10 MIU, I believe they're 20 MIU, but they're so sensitive. Even if you only have 10 or 15 MIU in your system early on, with the Clinical Guards, it's still showing up. You can still see a faint line. So yeah, that's my experience. That's my experience from the time that the egg didn't implant to this cycle where it did, and what I did differently. So if you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe. I'm making pregnancy vlogs now. I'm currently 5.5 weeks pregnant, and so I plan on just sharing lots of my experiences with you guys. So if this is something that you want to see, definitely please do subscribe. All right, bye guys.